imagine being born as a lab experiment. Someone that would be tested on for years, injected with fluids, injected with various chemicals, anything that they could even think of. Quarks were a thing, you were born with them. But they thought that they could advance the process of quark evolution to a new height. So they decided to experiment on children. They'd have them in a facility. It was like a reproduction center. They would reproduce, they would make kids, and that is exactly where Izuku Midoriya came from. Izuku Midoriya was born into this facility, this experiment, one giant experiment. Izuku would be tortured, pushed to his limits, would be basically injected with serum after serum until he got the DNA of a special someone. The DNA of the Wolverine himself. He got this injected within him and he began to react to this. They saw how well he was reacting to this power, that his quirk that he once had was deteriorating, but then re-evolving into something greater, something even more spectacular. Bone claws, the manipulation of his body's bones to make sharp, lethal objects. On top of that, this regeneration factor that came along with it. His quirk was evolving the testing that they were doing, and they immediately put him into even more testing. They wanted to make him the strongest being, an insane super-like soldier that could dominate, that could kill any villain, or at the end of the day, kill any hero that they saw fit. That's exactly who Izuku Midoriya would be. Izuku Midoriya would be the new Wolverine. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. And I'm not on the Golden What If channel, obviously. This is the Golden Kingdom channel, and I'm bringing to y'all a brand new Deku What If. As y'all know, I'm bringing Deku What Ifs back to my channel every so often, but I thought this would be a fun What If. I talked to my boy Xblick about it. He gave me the suggestion, and I thought it was a sick idea. So he made me a dope thumbnail. Obviously, this is for the Kingdom, so we kind of work together. And yeah, and now I'm here making the first installment of that. The first installment called Mutant Deku as the Wolverine. And in this What If, Deku Fanfiction will be doing a story about that said situation. And if y'all enjoy, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below suggestions you have for future What Ifs. We are going to start uploading twice a week. I believe it's going to be Wednesday and Saturday. You're seeing this on Wednesday. And yeah, this is a group channel. I want to keep it alive as best we possibly can. Obviously, I have my own things that I'm doing. Crown has his own things that he's doing. And also Xblick, we're all doing our own things. Obviously, we have our own channels. Keep that in mind. But yeah, we'll give any updates, obviously, if anything goes off the rails. But that's about it. 2 times a week. That's the plan. Wednesday, Saturday. All right, I'm not going to waste much more of your time. And let's just get right into this What If. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya began his treatment. He'd be put into this bath-like water, submerged, and would be put out for days, even maybe weeks. They began injecting his bones with some adamantium and other metal-like things, realizing that it would be so easy for him to repair himself via his insane regeneration. Izuku was stretching the limits, the bounds of his entire being. And soon, this would be proven to be perfect. He would wake up one day, completely done with the experiments. He would look at his body to see no scars, no nothing. At the age of 14, Izuku was done with all the experiments. He was a lethal soldier. Someone that could take out armies if he was so chosen to do so. But Izuku still had his own mind to be made up. He could feel it all. Every bit of metal injected into his body. The blades within his hands slicing against his skin. His spine being contorted, being disintegrated and then rebuilt once again. Every bone in his body shattering and healing back together in a matter of seconds. Izuku felt it all. And throughout this whole time, he was just thinking to himself, how the hell can I get out of this? What are they going to do to me? And eventually he would get that chance. And ironically enough, it was right when they began their process of controlling his mind. He began to wear a headset, this odd looking headset that had modules that would connect to his brain, something that would allow them to take over the new Wolverine's brain and mind so that he could be a puppet. But during this testing, he began to panic, he began to convulse, and they began to try and help him, save him. They didn't want their best experiment to go away, to die. Of course, he has insane regeneration, but if his lungs clog and he begins to suffocate, there's no guarantee that he'll survive even with his regeneration. But what they didn't know, that he was faking. He wasn't convulsing, he was playing an act, and when they got too close, he began to extend his claws. Claws then penetrated the chests of the two people that came to help him. He slices off the cords, the modules, and begins to stand up with no shirt on and very little clothes. And he stares daggers into them as he puts on a jacket, and his claws begin to retract back into his hands. You all have really fucked up. Izuku comes crashing through the windows, slicing into every single doctor he can see. He goes to doorway after doorway of every single child that has been experimented on, cutting them loose and telling them to have some fun. He cuts every single door line, anything you can come out of, and he opens everything up. As they begin to attack and emerge, they begin to disintegrate everybody around. The only people that were living at the end of all of this were the mothers that had the children. Unfortunately, the children knew what they went through. The children knew that these mothers didn't have a choice in any of this. So they left them and they began to basically escape on their own. But when they escaped, they all separated. None of them stuck together. They didn't know each other. They weren't friends. They just bared the same pain. Izuku felt sorry for them. That's why he cut them loose. There was no instance of this, oh, I love them, I care for them. It was just, well, it's all means to the end, and he just knows that if he cuts them all loose, he has a better chance of getting out of here. And that's what happened. They all escaped. Maybe some will turn out to be villains. Maybe some will be heroes. All Izuku knows is he does not want to be captive. Years pass, and he's been living on his own in the wilderness of anywhere he can possibly find. Eventually stumbling across a small and abandoned cabin. At the age of 16, Izuku didn't really know much about anything else. He's of course has been taught via books and anything that they can possibly get their hands on. These were very educated scientists. But of course, everything is limited. Everything that he learned would be limited to the point so that he wouldn't learn anything that would eventually allow him to escape. Of course, he ended up escaping nonetheless. But still, he had a mild amount of knowledge, nothing to the point that he's a genius, but even the pains that he felt way back when, and all of the trauma kind of clouds a lot of that so-called knowledge. One day though, he was sitting in his cabin, his abandoned cabin, as a bunch of villains began storming in, more or less trying to find shelter to hide from another hero. Izuku was there waiting for them, and looked at them as if he was a man possessed, as if these people were intruding on his only safe space, and in a way, they were. Izuku began beating them down so bad that they would be close to unrecognizable. He retracts his claws after beating them down and slicing them to bits, leaving all of them on their last legs, right down to about to be dead. But he didn't kill them. He knew that there was no reason to kill these people that have intruded, maybe not yet. But just as he left these people in a pile of their own blood, more and more people began to storm in, and these were heroes. Heroes saw the entirely brutal display that these people, these villains were displaying on their bodies, so they took them off to the hospital, But a couple other heroes approached Izuku and told him that he needs to be taken in and that he needs to be basically asked a bunch of questions. And a couple of those heroes were ones that we are all extremely familiar with. Aizawa, Eraserhead, also Present Mike. Present Mike would stand there and ask if he's just a kid. He's just like the ages of the kids that they have at UA. What's up with him? Why is he out here on his own? Aizawa doesn't know the answer to this, obviously. Who does? But Izuku says that he'll go wherever, but he's not going to be put away for someone intruding on his space. They came in, and they were obviously threatening his life, so he did what he must do. Aizawa agrees to this and even heads to the police station to basically just talk to the kid. He just wants to talk to Izuku and see what's going on. Eventually, they do sit down and speak, Aizawa asking various questions about how he got there. Seriously, this is none of your business how I got there. You know, kid, you're gonna have to tell me. At the end of the day, I have the power to put you in jail for a long time. Do I want to do that? No, definitely not. But still. Fine. You want to talk to me? Give me some food. I haven't had a real meal in, forever, actually. Aizawa agrees to this and actually sends someone to get that meal, bringing it back, and Izuku begins to eat as if he was just starving. And frankly, he kinda is. He hasn't gotten much food, and his limited travel, basically not trying to get spotted by anybody that could possibly recognize him, puts him in an odd situation. But nonetheless, he keeps his side of the bargain. Alright, I'll tell you what is wrong with me, or whatever. I've been experimented on all my life. I can even give you the location of the area that it is. But you're not gonna like what you see when you arrive there. But knowing that little agency of theirs, they probably have it cleaned up. Doesn't even matter. And Aizawa is confused. Experimented on? What are you talking about? Experimented on. Grueling things. They thought they could evolve quirks even further if they put the body under tremendous stress. And I was one of the first people to actually go through it, and go through it perfectly. They begin to ask what he can do exactly. He reveals his claws and cuts part of his own arm. They ask why he would ever do that, but immediately he regenerates it back. You see? These things are supposed to limit regeneration, but supposedly, I'm that much stronger now. Don't ask me. They did stuff to me that I will never understand. I have a lot of imagery up here. I scream at night, remembering everything that happened. So, please, humor me. What the hell can you do? And where were you when all those kids were being tortured? Aizawa is, obviously speechless. What is he supposed to say to something like that? He doesn't know. But it all comes down to one thing. And that one thing is revealed when Principal Nezu arrives. So, how about it? Do you want to be a hero? A hero? Why the hell would I want to be that? Heroes couldn't even help us. So why? Why would I be a hero? Maybe so you can help others just like you. Help others just like me. Interesting. You need a better sales pitch than that. Well, on top of that, all these quote-unquote charges will be dropped. And on top of that, you can have your own dorm room, you can meet people your own age, and you can get high-level training, and nothing is pushed upon you. There is no torture in hero training, Izuku. Don't need to worry about that. How do you know my name? Because I've done some digging, and we have heroes en route to every single location of every experiment that we've heard about. You do? Are you serious about that? Nezu says that he is. He's dead serious. That he has as many people as possible going out and getting rid of all of these experiments. And he's sorry that it took this long to be revealed. But he was obviously a catalyst for this. Nezu turns on the TV to see that there are multiple news channels about different kids being spotted elsewhere. These kids, they're just like you. They don't understand much what's going on, but they're powerful. And other hero schools are counting them in as well and bringing them in. And you want to bring me in? Fine. If you supply food and shelter, I guess I'll take it. Better than eating nothing in dirt. Yes, that would be better than eating nothing in dirt. Yeah. So Izuku Midoriya is enrolled into UA High School. Obviously, he has some academic issues, and he's going to run into that problem a little bit. Everything he's really learned in terms of learning or basically academics is basic things that you would need in the real world. So he doesn't know all of this advanced academics that really won't matter later on. But still, he's hopefully will be able to develop and react quick enough for this. And it seems like he's actually going to be doing that. But his main problem is dealing with these people. He actually does come into the year relatively late, so it's kind of hard for him to adapt to what's going on. Meeting his classmates was one hell of basically a whirlpool, and he begins to get a lot of mixed vibes from various people. Shoto Todoroki is one of those kids that doesn't really talk much and has a lot of issues. But frankly, issues to Izuku are just bullshit. Bakugo Katsuki is a loudmouth, and the amount of times Izuku wants to just shove his knives or his claws up his chest is beyond him entirely. And there's some nice people obviously in there, but Izuku is still kind of to himself. Nonetheless, he finally begins to get used to his classmates, and the class begins to get back into the swing of things. Aizawa explains to Izuku everything he's missed, and that UA itself was kind of a target in terms of the USJ attack and other things like that. He also missed the UA Sports Festival, unfortunately. Izuku, having no idea what the hell those things even are, just shrugs it off, like why would he even care anyways. Nonetheless, Aizawa says that the only problem is that nobody knows about him. There is no agency that would reach out and actually take him in. But Izuku says that's fine, he doesn't really care, and asks if there will be any agencies, quote-unquote, that could supply him with somewhere to go. And Aizawa says that is definitely the case, that he'll be reaching out to other agencies at this moment. But everyone else has their little agency already picked out, so they'll be heading out right now. Some of them say goodbye to Izuku, others just ignore him like Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki, and they head out. But Izuku waits as Aizawa continues to call agency after agency. And eventually one is found. And this person may be the perfect person for Izuku to go to. Aizawa explains where the details are and more or less where the agency is. And a ride is all set up, and Izuku is sent off about 1 hour after his peers left. When he arrives at a nice looking mansion. A mansion that was very oddly reminiscent. He's not sure how or when, but he's seen something like this in visions or in his dreams. Does he know exactly what it means? Hell no, definitely not. But still, he decides to walk in, and when he does, he's approached by a man in an odd-looking wheelchair. And he introduces himself as Professor X, a pro hero that is currently running an agency for the misguided, in which Izuku is shocked to see this. The misguided, so like mutants, like me. They talked about it a lot, that they wanted to evolve a quirk to the point where I was practically a mutant quirk? Still don't understand it. In which Professor X says yes, that he heard about this a long time ago and about what was happening, but he personally could not stop everything, and now he runs this agency, which is not too big of an agency, but still. And he's partnered with various heroes that have mutant-like abilities. Do you know who the rabbit hero is? Mirko. Mirko? I'll be honest with you. I don't know anybody. No heroes, no nothing. I don't even really like heroes very much. Not my thing. Professor X sees where he's coming from. He didn't realize this, but Izuku doesn't really like heroes at all. Frankly, he's only at UA for the reason that he doesn't want to be stranded out into nothingness and doesn't want to be stuck in wilderness. But Professor X begins to talk with Izuku, they begin to basically walk around the mansion, or Professor X is more like wheeling around in his wheelchair around the mansion, speaking about everything. Professor X says that he was experimented on long ago, and it seems that his quirk evolution was very odd, but the experiments were actually made to help him. They weren't actually malicious, or they weren't basically mass producing them, but that was a long time ago. He's old now, older, and since everybody in this world is so different, he doesn't know exactly what's even going on. But Izuku explains everything that has happened to him. Of course, he feels sorry for Izuku, but he promises that he will train him properly. And for the next week, they will have very beneficial training and also basically figuring out what's in his head. What do you mean? Figure out what's in my head? Yes, I want to figure out what's in your head. I want you to truly figure out why you are here, why you want to be here. I know you think that you want to be here just because, well, good food or because you want free shelter, but I promise you, it's deeper than that. You'll soon figure that out. Izuku is kind of not optimistic about that. He doesn't really think there is another reason, but nonetheless, he'll go along with it. So he decides that he'll listen to Professor X, and they begin their training slowly but surely. But 3 days after they begin their training, it seems like he's getting a call to be sent back. But Professor X requests that he keeps Izuku for a little bit longer. Aizawa explains the situation, but is told not to tell Izuku what occurred, and obviously he agrees. But Izuku will know that something is wrong, and pretty much immediately, he can smell it on the professor. What's going on? Seriously. I'm sorry, young Midoriya. I cannot tell anybody what's going on. But just trust me, it's not going to affect you at all. I promise. Izuku obviously just believes him at this point, but he says that it is a bit suspicious that that something this quote-unquote major was supposed to send him back to school, but he's still allowed to spend the rest of these days here. Professor X confirms it, and they begin their training once again. But obviously by the end of the week, Izuku will have to head back to UA. But the very last day they have with each other, and with all of the training and vice versa, let's just say Izuku finally realizes what he's here for. He doesn't want to just get free food, free shelter. Yes, that is a plus. Maybe he doesn't want to worry about it, but he wants to be a kid. He wants to act like a kid, be a kid, but at the same time, he wants to learn how to be a real person, a real hero, someone that can protect people, someone that can help others. He has lethal weapons. He was created to be a super soldier. So what does that mean for him? Was he just supposed to be an assassin? A cold-hearted warrior? Someone that could take someone's life without a blink? That's what he felt like. That he was willing to do that. That he did that initially. He killed every single researcher without any remorse. Yes, they did horrible things to him, but nonetheless, he didn't care. He was exactly what they wanted him to be, but he doesn't want to be that anymore. He wants to be that person that can step in front of a bullet, take it, and save someone. He wants to be that person that he can infiltrate somewhere, save children, save women, save men, save adults, save anybody, and make sure that they all feel safe. And when he tells this to Professor X can't help but to smile, and he gives him a card. Look, you're gonna soon be on your way to being a true hero. I want you to join my agency after that. I know I'm a little older, but I promise we'll do good things. Izuku nods and begins to head off as the car pulls up and takes him back to UA. When he arrives, he's actually greeted by Aizawa. Aizawa explains a couple things. That they have a final exam. He's exempt from it. Frankly, he hasn't had the chance to even learn that much, but he will be just taking some extra courses at the training camp that they're going to be going to in the coming days. Izuku is completely fine with this. He thinks this is relatively fair. And Aizawa is then bombarded with questions about exactly what happened, in which Aizawa reluctantly agrees to tell him because he doesn't want to hide something from him. He tells him that one of his students, or one of their students, and one of his classmates was killed. That he was killed by the hero killer, and he survived initially, but he ended up dying in the hospital. Hearing this, Izuku is reassured with everything he wants to do, everything that he has set forth. He was once made to be a killing machine, someone that could take someone's life without any thought and just by a snap of a finger. That was who he was supposed to be. But now he's someone else. Izuku Midoriya is, yes, a mutant. Yes, he may be seen as a monster. But Izuku Midoriya is truly going to be the Wolverine. But the Wolverine with ideals with himself. Ideals that he sees to be true. He'll be the Wolverine, but he'll make sure that that pack mentality of killing without regard will no longer be there. He'll take that to heart, and he'll truly be someone different. Maybe he'll be an X Factor. No, he'll be an X-Men. That's exactly who he'll be. He'll be someone that can truly make a difference, and that's his goal. Izuku is then told of what the final exam would be, and when that final exam comes around, he realizes the first test in this journey will be upon him, and that will be against one of the teachers at UA. Who's that teacher? Well, you'll have to find out on the next installment of Deku as the Wolverine. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, and comment down below. Leave any suggestions you have for future what ifs. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed overall. Welcome to the Golden Kingdom if you haven't been here already. I don't know when the next part of this will be. Maybe next week. Definitely won't be on Saturday, because unless someone else in the kingdom wants to take the next part. But I assume I'll be the only one doing this series. So this will probably be up either next week or the week after, or this, the second installment. But nonetheless, hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.